Hi all, welcome to another video, and in this video I'll talk a little bit about the file sharing app, the open source my open source repository that I've been working on for the last few months, and I'll talk about my latest update to it and the file sharing feature for that matter. So the file sharing feature is now complete. So I'll share a little bit about that, and in addition to that I'll talk about what I intend to do next on it. um, yeah, and before we get started on that, I almost want to say it's a beautiful day, but it's not a beautiful day. No, it's raining, it's cloudy, it's dark, and it's just bad. It's just depressing. It's great if you want to stay at home and not too much and just snuggle up on the couch and then watch some TV and all that. For that, it's great for that. But for everything else, not so much. All right. Yeah. So okay. So starting off with where did we leave it? So I think I made file sharing part adding the share file feature part 1, 2, and 3. So this one is this video won't take take a long in this video I won't take a long time to actually talk about that feature, because for what I intended to do with that original feature is complete and it's merged to master. um, the only thing that I feel kind of bad about is that there's like 2 extra commits with it. It was unavoidable, but there's like 2 extra commits on from that branch that were merged onto master. So normally, my approach is, given that I use the feature-based Git workflow model, my approach is there's one branch, one feature, and then you merge that. So obviously, as I'm working on that feature, I make a few different changes to it, and then I, obviously have heaps of incremental commits onto that branch. But what I do is I actually squash all those commits and then just merge before I merge them onto the main branch. So it's just a way of keeping the Git commit history clean. Um, yeah, this one. So there's two. The 2 extra commits that I added in addition to all the changes on the file sharing API, the 2 extra commits that I had made to that branch, which got merged onto master, was just a simple commit about updating the documentation. And I think that was I realized after I merged it, I'm like, but it's simple. It was just a simple update, and so yeah. Now, obviously, for all the updates that I'll be making to the documentation, and in this case, it would be the README file. I would just make them to like a docs branch, like how you've got the feature branch, hotfix, release, and all that. I'll just create a docs branch, like docs slash something, and then I'll update that. So yeah. So at this stage, the file sharing feature, or the share file with other users feature, is actually, it works, and you can only share files that are like documents. So for example, PDF, docx, txt, or so on and so forth. At this point, I haven't quite added the files the file size limit. So I haven't really added the guardrails to limit the file that you're sharing. Um, but that's something that I will be doing. I'll be making a change on that, because as you may or may not recall, you know what? I think it's important for um, everyone who's watching this video and they haven't watched any of the previous videos. So in summary, the way the file share feature works is that when you click on the share button on the app on the UI, you'll see a dialog, and in that dialog you can actually it will have an input box where you can enter the email address of whoever you want to share this file with, and then what the app will do is it will attach the file that you want to share with the email, and then send that email to the user. And obviously this is done using Google's SMTP server. I chose that instead of Amazon SES, AWS SES, simply because I don't know, it was just easier for me to work with that. Having said that, I have added the means to make a change to AWS SES should I need to in the future. But for now, for POC, proof of concept basis, this one suffice. This one is sufficient. Okay, so that's with the file sharing feature. Now, what do I? So that's it's all. It's been integrated into the app, and then, like I said, at this point, there is no limit for the size of the file that you can share. So, for example, if you upload a really large file, so the file sharing is limited to like the PDF, docx, or TXT, and all that. But what if you've got like a 100 MB PDF? I mean, I haven't seen that, but it's definitely possible. What if you've got a 100 MB PDF? They haven't really put any limits on that, and by limits I mean haven't really put any sort of guardrails that that can send a message back to the UI, which can inform the user trying to upload that file that okay, this is too big. Having said that, instead of sharing, I mean, I'm not even sure how if a user is trying to share a 100 MB PDF file or 100 MB video file onto AWS S3, I'm not even sure how the Java Spring Boot API app that are made, how that would behave. So that's something that I need to test out, which I haven't done so at this stage. So, but to be on the safe side, I think what will be very pragmatic for me is to enforce some sort of limit onto the API. So when a user tries to upload a file that big, the server will just send a response back saying that okay, it's too big. Now that I think about it, I will also explore if there's a way to do this check on the UI, way to do this sort of validation from just the UI side. Yeah. So there's that, and that's about the file sharing feature. Now the next thing is what do I intend to work on from here on? So obviously, for those of you who have seen the screenshot on the GitHub repository, and I can actually share a link to that, or even add that image onto the description of this video if it's possible. So the UI looks terrible. I mean, it's just fun. I mean, it's functional. It's pretty clear. If you see the UI, it's quite clear that very little work has gone into the UI, because for the majority of the time I was quite occupied with setting up the API and the backend side of things, like the Spring Boot and the security, and then integrating like with AWS services such as DynamoDB, and then configuring Route 53 for the domain, and then sort of hosting this on Elastic Beanstalk and so on and so forth, or configuring SES. So now that we're at this point, I think it's logical for me to work on improving the UI next, and which is what I'm doing right now, so obviously, by default, and my understanding was that I was just going to use MUI, Material UI, because I've used Material UI in the past, and it looks good, and it's actually quite alright. However, I just realized that there is a price attached to it. I'm not sure how much that affects me at this stage, but there's a cost associated with it. So I'm rethinking using Material UI. So I'm actually looking at React Bootstrap, or that's something that I'm exploring right now. And the next thing is I also want to see what sort of layout can I add it to. What sort of layout can there be for such an app? And by default, obviously, I could just make it like a simple, file listing per se. Like that's simple, and that would just work. I mean, it's known, it's tried and tested. It's a UI that always works. Or one of the things that I could do if I feel up to it, and if I've got the time to do that, would be there's a UI site called Dribble, and Dribble, it's really cool. You've got some really cool designs. Obviously, implementing any design from Dribble would take a considerable amount of work. So obviously, once I look at those, I'll just try to do an estimate of how much time it would take, and then compare that with my intentions of releasing this when I want to release it, the time frame around releasing this. So let's see. So my long-term goal is that I publish this app on AWS, and then it's accessible through a certain URL, and then it also includes, in addition to user signing up, you creating your own account and doing a sign up. I also want to integrate the social login feature, like with OAuth 2 and all. So that's also something that I intend to do. But for now, I'll just focus on improving the UI. That's the first step in it, and let's see if all of this should take me approximately a fortnight. Let's see how I go. Should that not be sufficient, and should I need to push it back or something? But yeah, I'll obviously keep making these videos, and I'll keep informing for those of you who are watching about the updates and all that. So yeah, that's it for now, and that's all I have to say in this video. And for those of you watching, I wish you well and live long and prosper. See you next time. Bye.